Coming up on Network Africa, Somalia's president vows revenge on Al-Shabaab after the militant group launched a deadly attack on an army base in Puntland. Herdsmen and their cows invade a primary school in Edo State, Nigeria's south-south region. And the government of South Africa declares Nisna a disaster area after wildfires ravage the tourist town. Welcome there, I'm Jacqueline Rogers. We begin today's program in Somalia, where President Mohamed Abdullahi Farmajo has promised that the Somali military would retaliate and avenge Al-Shabaab's deadly attack, which was launched yesterday. In a statement, the president says the country's army is in hot pursuit of Al-Shabaab fighters after the insurgents' assault on a military base in the Puntland region left at least 38 people dead. Officials say most of those killed were soldiers and 18 others were wounded, with an unknown number also feared captured alive. The Al-Qaeda-linked Islamist group, however, cited a higher toll in the attack, saying it had killed 61 soldiers, numbers given by officials and Al-Shabaab often differ. Al-Shabaab is fighting to topple Somalia's central government and rule the country according to a strict version of Islam's Sharia law. A top human rights official, Zaid Ra'ad Al-Hussein, has called for an international investigation into what he calls widespread human rights abuses in Kasai in the Democratic Republic of Congo. He had given the Congolese government a deadline to set up a joint probe with the UN, but this has passed. The UN has documented over 40 mass graves in the last few months, but says the real total could be higher. There has been heavy fighting in the area between government troops and a militia known as Kamuina Nsapu since August last year. The UN says it received information that many of the mass graves were dug by government troops.
The High Commissioner Zaid in early May had urged the government of the DRC to take a series of steps to ensure that a credible, transparent investigation respecting international standards and with the involvement of our office, be established by the 8th of June. That's yesterday. While the government has sought technical support and advice from the UN Human Rights Office and from MONUSCO, its response to date falls short. What we are calling for is investigations that investigate these crimes regardless of the perpetrators. What we have seen so far is that there are investigations on the crimes allegedly committed by the Kamuna Sapu militia, but we have not seen the same kinds of investigations for crimes allegedly committed by the army and the police.
Meanwhile, the chief prosecutor of the International Criminal Court, Fatou Bensouda, has told the UN Security Council that not one of the suspects for whom arrest warrants have been issued has been arrested and transferred to the ICC for crimes committed in Sudan. Warrants were issued by the court in 2008 and 2010 for the arrest of Sudan's President Omar al-Bashir and others for crimes including genocide, crimes against humanity and war crimes.
These men stand accused of multiple charges for some of the world's most serious crimes as foreseen under the Rome Statute. Today, in this important public forum, I say to those victims and their families who continue to long for justice in Darfur, do not despair and do not abandon hope. Most recently, Mr. al-Bashir traveled to Jordan on the 29th of March 2017. Despite being reminded by the registry of its obligations to arrest and surrender Mr. al-Bashir, regrettably, Jordan declined to do so. As a consequence, Pretrial Chamber 2 invited Jordan to provide submissions on this issue for the purpose of a determination by the Chamber on whether to make a formal finding of non-compliance and refer the matter to the Assembly of States Parties and/or this Council.
In North Africa, South Sudanese rebels have claimed responsibility for an ambush on a convoy of buses driving towards the capital, Juba, that killed at least 14 people. Opposition spokesman Lam Paul Gabriel says that rebel troops were targeting government troops. He adds that soldiers were escorting civilians and they were killed in this crossfire. Mr. Lam claims its fighters killed 40 people, including at least 2 colonels, in an attack that included the use of rocket-propelled grenades. But South Sudanese police spokesman Daniel Justin Bolong said 14 people had been killed. South Sudan had been devastated by a 3-year civil war that broke out in December 2013 after President Salva Kiir sacked his political foe and Vice President Riek Machar.